Alrighty, so this is going to be an interesting topic because this is technically in the world of YouTube drama, but also exists very much in the world of real politics and law in particular. Now, if you're someone who exists online and watches gaming content, in particular GTA content, then you're probably familiar with a YouTuber who is pretty broadly considered to be the best GTA content creator. Maybe there are others that are considered the top, I don't know. But I generally do think that DarkviperAU is typically regarded as like the best GTA creator insofar as the quality of his content. Listen, hate me if you want, but I like the Pacifist series. I think that's really interesting, seeing how people find creative ways to work around games having like barriers that try to make you play a certain way. I find very interesting, and so like it's very clear that takes a lot of effort. You know, the videos are high quality. He's got like a fairly charismatic voice and presentation. So like I can kind of I can't show any of his videos to give you an example, but I can do my best at an impression. So like you'll throw on like one of his GTA videos, right? And it'll be like alright, so we're back with the GTA pacifist run, and last time, Michael had to, it'll be like, he'll sort of just explain, like, what happened in the story, so he's both telling the story of GTA 5 in a pretty funny way as well. He kinda makes jokes out of what's actually happening. It's funnier if you know what the story actually is, because he's not telling the story exactly, he's making jokes out of it, etc, etc. I actually think DarkviperAU, this guy here, I think that his Grand Theft Auto content is genuinely peak. Like, genuinely quite good. And I'm quite excited to see his reaction and content of GTA 6. Like, all drama aside, he is the biggest GTA fan that I know of. He has to be, considering, like, what he does for a living. And I am, nonetheless, despite all the drama we're about to discuss, quite excited to see him play GTA 6. Especially because GTA 6 takes place in my homeland of Florida, and I'm quite excited to explore my homeland in Grand Theft Auto. It's going to be crazy. All that aside, though, DarkviperAU is unfortunately known for something other than his awesome Grand Theft Auto content outside of his community. Outside of his community and his fan base, he is known as the guy who is absolutely deranged, whiny, and insane about reaction content. Now, reaction content, or react content, whatever you want to call it, I feel we're doing ourselves a disservice if we don't have a very quick clarification at the beginning of this part of the discussion. What react content means is different depending on who you're talking to. By literal definition, react content is content in which someone is reacting to something else, right? And the concept, like the pull of the content, is that the person who is making the video is like reacting to something for the first time, their genuine first time reaction, and hopefully they've got an interesting enough personality, and like the way they react to surprising or interesting things is just typically entertaining enough that people want to see that person react to it, right? The appeal of this is obvious, right? Like, for example, if you've ever been a big fan of a TV show that has like a crazy fucking twist moment that like made you and all your friends freak the fuck out, one of my favorite things to do, maybe you guys can relate, is to then immediately seek out videos of people reacting to that scene for the first time. There's a whole genre of people on YouTube who react to themselves watching a new episode of like a TV show they're really into, and they'll like not film the TV, or they'll film the TV through a mirror and just show like clips of the most interesting reactions they had to the most interesting clips of the episode to avoid YouTube auto-DMCAing, right? A lot of people enjoy that type of content because the concept of watching someone else share you know, in a reaction is quite awesome. The Red Wedding from Game of Thrones has several React videos. Yeah, watching people react to the Red Wedding is obviously a very good example. I feel we need to start from a fundamental premise of like, talking about React content before we get to our boy Dark Viper. And whether or not React content has any fundamental intrinsic value, or if it is, as DarkviperAU has gone on record to say, I'm not quoting him directly here, but I have a feeling if he heard me say that he said this, he'd be like, not exactly what I said, but that about sums it up. He considers it a toxic, cancerous, destructive, content-stealing, lazy, shameless form of content that is making the platform worse and harming countless content creators who are having their content stolen. That is essentially the way that he frames it. It is. Many people in chat are going to agree with what he says here, but here's the problem with that. Why do you watch me? If you agree with that, why do you watch me? I react to stuff all the time on my channel. And not only that, but a lot of my reactions, despite being critical, react to the whole video. So are you guys saying that you do think the content I make is against, like, TOS and should be banned, but because I make content responding to conservatives and people you don't like, you're fine with it? It's very confusing, because I have had people in my own fan base agree with this perspective, and to be fair, that is kind of the point I'm going to be getting to in a moment. Because your reactions are additive. That's the problem, though. DarkviperAU doesn't make that distinction. And unfortunately, a lot of people who agree with him think he does. So, let's get back to the React content topic, though. You guys are getting me distracted, and you're getting me knocked off track. So, very quickly. Here, where's the video I was thinking of? Yeah, here it is. I think I should be able to show this just fine. This is George R.R. Martin reacting to a bunch of people's reactions to the Red Wedding. No spoilers, by the way, but the Red Wedding from Game of Thrones.
Oh, shit. Oh. You guys knew about this?
So fucking good. Okay. Like, there's very clearly, was it that bad? It's not bad. It's... Do not tell anybody what the Red Wedding is, because it's a big spoil. You need to know. You can't know what the Red Wedding is, otherwise it won't hit as hard, right? But yeah, what just happened? I'm not ever going to respond to a single other person in chat who asks what just happened after I explain what just happened already. I'm going to make a new policy that if you just demonstrate you have zero listening comprehension skills, you are getting 100% ignored, and I am not acknowledging your comment or repeating what I said, ever. I'm instituting that new rule. It will be too destructive to, like, me staying on track if I respond to every person who asks that, just randomly, because they weren't paying attention for 5 seconds. Anyway, with that said, there's obviously some level of intrinsic value in the concept of a reaction, a blind first-time reaction, as a form of entertainment, right? I think most can agree with that. Is it for everybody? No. And I think that many people who find it's not for them are going to be more inclined to agreeing with this perspective. Here's the thing, though. Even if you have the opinion that reaction content is all across the board fundamentally bad no matter what, fair use does still exist. And while the rules that define fair use are, like, on purpose, quite vague, at least here in America and in most states, the point of that is so that in court it can be determined on a case-by-case basis, because it is common that people have abused fair use law in the past because the legal system isn't perfect. You can sue anyone for anything, and if they don't have the means, time, and money to defend themselves in court, their chances are quite bad. And even if you lose, at least you can drain them of money, resources, and time. And so there's a reason why fair use laws are so intentionally vague, and it's because it needs to be, a case-by-case basis determination in court. And that is why fair use exists. And one of the core factors of fair use is whether or not the content that is being used in such a manner in which it is considered transformative. And there are many ways in which something can be considered transformative in court. One of those ways is parody. So, for example, you've got Weird Al Yankovic. Now, to be fair, correct me if I'm wrong, I do think Weird Al famously would not cover songs unless he had permission to, because that was just how he did things. But I do think he had one or two court battles at one point, and he still won. But he still asks artists because he's just a good guy. And that is essentially how I do non-critical reactions. If I'm going to do one, I will typically ask if it's a creator that I can ask. Typically, it's somebody who I know appreciates my coverage of their content or likes me, and I might frequently cover them. It's why there's like a pretty small pool of people I react to on stream positively. And if I get asked to take something down, I do. For example, Knowing Better made a video one time about neo-slavery. I thought it was amazing. And to be fair, I ended up adding over an hour of commentary to Knowing Better's video on it when I uploaded my video, but Knowing Better still messaged me on Twitter asking me to take it down because he doesn't like reaction content. He is of the same mindset as DarkviperAU and believes that all forms of reaction content, no matter how transformative, are immoral, unethical, and shouldn't be allowed. And so if I didn't like Knowing Better, I absolutely would have challenged him and been like, no, this is absolutely not, like, you have no legal authority to ask of this of me. I considered it more of a polite asking, because he was quite polite in doing so, and I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, I'll take it down. It's literally been like 2 months since it went out, too. It's not like tons of new people are coming in to watch the video, right? There's literally no skin off my back. Why would I be rude and say no? But yeah, I do think that there's a certain level of like, oh, if you don't want me to cover your content like this, I'm a nice enough guy to not do so, if you're polite about it. However, some people aren't quite as polite, and that's where DarkviperAU comes in. You see, when you think of reaction content, you might think of anything from what I do, which is pretty additive and transformative reaction content. Like, I will usually watch, like, maybe a third, a quarter, or half of, like, a conservative propaganda video. Less so because I don't want to show all of it, and more so because I can't make it through all of it before the cringe has, like, started, manifesting as physical pain, and I have to click out. But then I add, like, a substantial amount of runtime in my commentary, which is, like, mercilessly ripping apart every single individual point and argument made in the video, which involves a lot of pausing, talking for a long time, unpausing for a few seconds, pausing again, and talking for a long time on repeat. You've seen my videos before. You know what I'm talking about. Here's the thing, though. DarkviperAU and many do not make that distinction. The distinction between, let's say, someone like XQC or Hassan, who he's made many videos on and built a lot of the support for his anti-reaction video sort of crusade against, on people like Hassan and XQC, who are absolutely, undeniably content thieves. The way they do, and Sniper Wolf too, the way they do react content is some of the most shameless thievery ever. They just kind of sit there silently and say, oh, wow, oh, crazy every few minutes, you know? There's no actual, there's no actual commentary, no meat on the bones of that video to actually gnaw on. So, with that in mind, it bothers me that somebody can build up a lot of support for an idea off of a pretty unanimously bad thing, but then extend their moral condemnation of that thing way outside of what I think most people would consider to be on par. So that's where we get to what's happening today. Now, to be fair, the other person involved in this story, Chud Logic, is not someone that I like. The reason I don't like Chud Logic is that back when I got COVID for the first time, I tweeted that I had COVID, and for some reason, Chud Logic's editor, who is a Nazi, to be fair, quote tweeted me with saying, praying that long COVID takes this motherfucker out. Just saying that they were praying that I die. And so I blocked them. And then in response to that, Chud Logic has hated me ever since. And I believe he started a rumor that I have AIDS. So Chud Logic is, do not get me wrong, a massive piece of shit. So I'm getting that out there right at the front of this to explain where my biases are here. DarkviperAU is someone whose content I actually enjoy, and while I disagree with him substantially on his position in regards to React content, I hate Chud Logic for very obvious personal reasons, because he just lies about me, and he hates me because I wasn't okay with his editor praying for my death, I guess. Regardless, that makes it very clear where my biases should be here. I'm getting that out here right off the front, because if I criticize DarkviperAU, I know for a fact the very immediate, obvious response from many of his fans is going to be, you just hate him, or you're just jealous, or just some dismissive point that's meant to say, oh, you just don't like him for some reason. It's like, well, I mean, I don't like this about him, but I actually do quite like him, as I've said before, and I quite dislike the other party involved in this drama, who, despite all of this, I think is in the right. I do think Chud Logic is in the right here. You see, not too long ago, Chud Logic made a video in which he responded to one of DarkviperAU's videos. And Chud Logic's video responding to DarkviperAU was pretty undeniably fair use. I think the video added an extra hour almost of commentary to the original one, constant pausing, and I don't even think Chud Logic watched the entirety of Darkviper's original video anyway. But even if he did, it was quite transformative. In response, because the video was quite scathing of a takedown of Darkviper responded by issuing a takedown request on Chud Logic's video, and followed it up when I guess that didn't work out by suing Chud Logic. That's right. Chud Logic's a pretty small content creator, to be clear, and, he's got support and everything, but compared to DarkviperAU, a 1.5 million sub YouTuber, Chud Logic is like an ant compared to him. This is really weird considering the fact that I have covered his content in the past before, and he didn't strike me. He didn't issue a takedown to me. He didn't sue me, which is kind of odd. Weirdly, he targeted specifically Chud Logic. I don't know why. Is this the first time he's done it? Or is this just the first time that we know he's done it? Hard to say. Regardless, he put out a video recently called How YouTube's Copyright Blunder Sparked a Hate Campaign Against Me. And the thumbnail are Turkey Tom, Chud Logic, who he's suing, Bo Blacks, and Optimus. Now, I've got varying opinions on these people for different reasons, but I have to agree with them on this issue because, God, I mean, have you guys seen Dark Viper's tweets on this whole issue? He's been tweeting nonstop for a week now, and it's literally every single tweet is in response to this. At one point, Oh my god, it's actually fucking wild. At one point he tweeted, can I find the image? Listen, I love you, buddy. If you ever see this, Dark Viper, and I'm sure maybe he will, you know, it's possible. He does seem to be pretty on top of when people talk about him. If you see this, man, you may want to chill out on Twitter. Simply because, to a lot of people, even when I like you, like, genuinely, this particular post I'm about to bring up does not play as well as I think you thought it did, okay? Oh, God. This person tweeted, DarkviperAU is actively deleting comments he disagrees with as we speak. Mind you, this has 50 likes, okay? He is responding to every tweet about him, even if they have like 5, 10, 15, like less than 100 likes, he is responding to these people. This person is just like making a tweet about how DarkviperAU is apparently, maybe, I'm not even going to say that he is, but supposedly deleting negative comments on his video. But he responds to this claim in the most hilarious way you can possibly imagine. He responds with this: I was not even home. I was getting McDonald's. Prior to that, I was working on my video. You're an idiot. The first comment I read was like 5 minutes ago, and as far as I'm aware, there are not enough delusional people for their comments to be noticeable. And he posts a picture of him at his desk with a McDonald's cup and his editing timeline. And like, I believe him and all. I do not believe that he's lying, okay? I want to be very clear here. I believe this is actual proof that he went out and got McDonald's, that he did do so. But does anybody else not find it a little bit ridiculous that he posted, like, a 4chan I'm a real girl verification picture style image of him holding up? Like, I'm surprised he didn't have a whiteboard with the date on it. Unlike the other hand, you know? Like, it's just, why do you care to prove you're not mad to these randos? Because, Dark Viper, if you want to prove you're not mad and you don't give a fuck about these people and they're stupid and they don't matter to you, the best way to do that is to simply ignore these 50 like, how many followers? 380 follower WH Omega lol who's on Twitter. Just ignore these people. Like, stop engaging. Seriously, stop engaging. Eventually it's going to start making you look worse and worse and worse, even to the people who already agree with you. However, as much as I dislike him, I have to say that I side with Chud Logic in this from what I've seen. I don't agree with YouTubers suing other YouTubers to silence each other, like, just because of disagreement. It's really not something that I want to support as, like, a precedent. Just like, oh, you said something mean about me or did something I don't like in a video, I'm taking you to court. Like, come on, man. Is that where we're at now? Anyway, Chud Logic put out a video on it called Dark Viper HIV lashes out after DMCA fallout, leaks DMs, and deletes tweets. Is, like, saying people he dislikes have HIV or AIDS just a thing that Chud Logic does? Is that just like a running joke in his community? It appears that's his meme. Try very, very hard to ignore the fact that Chud Logic is a dead ringer for the quartering. Like, if they ever want to make a movie about the quartering's life, they need to hire Chud Logic and have him, like, voice train his British accent away into, like, an American accent, like they had Andrew Lincoln do for Rick Grimes. And he truly is a dead ringer. Like, I mean, seriously, look at him and then look at the quartering. Like, they're scarily similar. Honestly, if I told you this was the quartering video and started playing the video and he didn't have a British accent, would you have even noticed that this wasn't a quartering video? Anyway.
Arguments haven't really changed much since his
14-page meticulously written document.
This is why it's not even worth engaging with his arguments in any substantive way, because he's a little...
Okay, I don't really like these stingers at the beginning of videos, because they just kind of, like, disjoint the watching experience, and they confuse me whenever those bits of the video come back up again. Like, later on. It's like, what the fuck am I rewatch? Oh, because they do yeah, it's just confusing to me. There's a reason I don't do them on my videos anymore. Chat, do you like stingers at the beginning of videos? I don't like them. I don't like them on videos, and so I've had my editor not do them, but if you guys like those, like, here are the interesting parts of the video right at the beginning, stingers, and then the intro, and then the video, let me know. You guys don't like them? Okay, I will keep not doing them then. Let me know if you guys like them. But my understanding is, and my own belief is, they're not great. Why does he look like the Quartering's lost twin brother? It is truly uncanny, isn't it?
I was actually at McDonald's with my kids yesterday, and then I got a message about this fucking Dark Viper video that dropped. As I said earlier, I've been very busy meticulously planning for this stream and come up with the following.
I have no friends. I have no life. I have no girlfriend. I barely see my family.
One more time if you missed it.
I have no friends. I have no life. I have no girlfriend. I barely see my family.
And one more time, just for...
Okay, I should probably add, because this is context you guys are probably not caught up on, DarkviperAU has sort of... I don't want to call him a liar, because I like the guy. So I'm not going to call him a liar, but I will say he has told seemingly differing, opposing stories about the way that his personal life goes, depending on what kind of argument or point he's trying to make. So, for example, if he is trying to argue against someone saying he's just a YouTuber too, he doesn't work that hard, he would say, look how much I edit, look how hard I work, I literally have no life outside of work, I barely see my kids, I barely see my girlfriend. That's literally where that comes from. He'll say that to elaborate how hard he works. And honestly, I'm gonna be real, assuming he's telling the truth, he apparently streams like 10 hours a day, almost every day, and edits all of his videos and uploads at least once a day. That is a substantial amount of work for a single person, and I think makes his own thumbnails. So that is a lot of work for one person. He apparently also edits on stream, though. So, like, from what I understand, like, his videos are, like, edited and uploaded while he's streaming. Like, part of his stream is like, hey, guys, I'm editing today's video. So that's, like, an interesting way to sort of consolidate the time, I suppose, but I don't know if editing content is the most interesting for my channel, so I don't think that's my cup of tea. But regardless, DarkviperAU will make that argument that he works so hard, but then when he wants to make it seem as though he touches grass and he's not some loser who's on the internet yelling at people, like someone will say he is, he'll respond by saying, I was just out having food with my girlfriend and my wife and my kids, you know? Like, he'll completely flip how he represents his personal life depending on what looks better at the moment. If it looks better for him to be this, like, no-life, grinding, hard worker, he'll say that's how his life is. If it looks better for him to be this, like, touches grass, lives his life normally kind of guy, he'll frame it like that. Whichever looks best at a given moment, it seems like.
For luck.
I have no friends. I have no life. I have no girlfriend. I barely see my family.
There we go. So anyway, I haven't actually watched the video, so who knows what the fuck he said in it. No idea. No clue.
For the record, I don't believe if you're wondering why I'm not covering DarkviperAU's video, it's because there's literally nothing I could do in a live format to cover it in such a way where DarkviperAU would consider it to be acceptable and then not proceed to engage in copyright, at least claims, maybe even takedowns, and possibly legal action against me. He will literally, he has said and gone on record to say any form of live response content, by definition, cannot be fair use. He has, actively said that my entire type of content, no matter how transformative, should be banned from YouTube. And should not be allowed. And the only type of response or react, quote-unquote, content that should be allowed to exist is pre-scripted, pre-edited, pre-recorded, and uploaded, with very small, short, selected clips that you've already seen meant for the purpose of, making a point. That is the only type of reaction content DarkviperAU thinks should be allowed on YouTube, and he will act on that policy. DarkviperAU is convinced that fair use sides with him and that fair use law agrees with that perspective. Now, it's possible that in some cases it might, because fair use laws are written so vaguely that depending on the judge and whatever case, like court you're in, you might have a different outcome. But the whole point of it is that depending on the content in question, it will be determined whether or not it qualifies as fair use. Because fair use in many ways exists in the spirit of the content, less so than the actual content itself. In many cases, what is determined to be like the fault of someone in a legal sense has to do with intent, unless there's actual harm and damages that can be proven. If no harm and damages can be proven, at that point you just have to prove some sort of like malicious intent. And that's quite hard to prove when someone's just making like very clearly long pauses of like, I'm going to stop and like debunk points here for like 10 minutes and then resume the video. And like the original video is 15 minutes and the total React video is like an hour and a half long because there's like an extra hour and 15 minutes of commentary responding to every point. Like that is very different than a Sniper Wolf reaction, but not in Dark Viper's view. And Dark Viper will use the copyright system on YouTube and the legal system as if the law agrees with him. And the problem is, even if the law doesn't agree with him, one might say, well, who cares? If you think you're in the right, then take it to court. But that's fucking insane. DarkviperAU's responses to everything are always like, I have given you impossible standards to meet. Why don't you just meet them? It's that easy. For example, he'll make a big video that is like against reaction content, like a 15-minute long, 20-minute long video that's like opposed to reaction content. And a YouTuber like me is allowed to respond to that video, but you can't live respond to it. You have to watch it off stream, write down the arguments you disagree with, save the arguments you want to make at the time, and then respond to it live or respond to it offline that way. You cannot show the actual video unless it's select like few second clips that don't make up like more than a minute maybe of the total video when it comes out. That is how severe his standard is, and he has explained this ad nauseum in the past. The fact is, though, his responses to people who don't want to do this, why don't you just do your research and learn what I actually believe? Why do you keep saying I've said stuff that I haven't said? Why don't you just... And obviously, I've watched his stuff off stream, so I know what he believes, and I am accurately reiterating what his values are. I don't think he could, like, cover this video and say that I misrepresented him at any point. And if I have misrepresented him here, then I'm glad, because it's an accident and his positions are not as bad, in my opinion, as I think they are. That would be a good thing, in my opinion, if I was misled on what he actually believes on this, but I am pretty certain I'm quoting him mostly word for word on most of these takes. So it's very problematic to me that this is a YouTuber with a massive audience, a lot of support, and a lot of money who is willing to take other smaller YouTubers to court, and his response to, hey, you shouldn't be taking smaller YouTubers to court when they make fair use responses to your videos is, well, if their videos are fair use, they'll just win the court case. That's not a good argument, because going through the legal system sucks. There's no excuse to just, as a, well, let's find out what happens, take another YouTuber to court just because you don't like they made a response video. Or make a response video? Well, I don't know what you're responding to there, Galaxy Bomb, but like, if you make a response video to one of his videos that shows too much of his content, then you're screwed. And the problem is his main, like, group of people he's attacking are streamers, and so he expects streamers to, like, while not streaming, which is their job, to do, like, homework to make a prepared video that is not the type of content they typically make, that is scripted and like pre-made to respond to it. Those are the standards he has made for how you have to respond to him. And if you don't respond to him like that, he'll claim you're dishonest or proceed with legal action against you. But then if you don't do those things, he'll say you're too afraid to respond to him and you're too afraid to go against him. He creates impossible standards to meet. Well, not impossible, but like ridiculous standards to meet. And then when you just don't even care to try and meet them, he says, see, if you really had an argument, you would have made your edited, scripted response video to me. Streamer destroyed.
Literally no clue what's going on. The thing with Dark Viper is he's one of these people. The stream was muted. Oh, sorry, one more time.
I have no friends. I have no life. I have no girlfriend. I barely see my family.
Dark
Okay,
Viper is
get on
one of
with
these
it, get on
people
with it.
who, in the moment, on like a live stream, when he's asked about something like this, will act like a little pussy. Because there were clips at the time of when he originally filed this of people going to his stream and asking questions. I think Keemstar and Nicholas DiOrio went to his stream and asked him questions about it, and he was a little sheepish freak about it at the time and didn't want to fucking answer it. But then what he's done is he's gone away and gone to his little editing suite, right, where he can record as many takes as he wants so he doesn't sound like a snivelling freak, and recorded some fucking response video. The thing is about it as well is like he's kind of attacked everyone, like all of the commentary people he's gone after, because a lot of them don't agree with his absolutely fucking rabid campaign against you know, all forms of React content, even ones that are arguably transformative. But yeah, obviously
That's the fact of it, by the way. Notice how nobody went against Jack's films the same way DarkviperAU has had people go against him, because no one disagrees with like the banning or like elimination and shaming of that like shameless, low effort React content like Sniper Wolf and like Hassan. Nobody broadly disagrees with that. The same people that DarkviperAU is fighting with right now have criticized Hassan for this, as have I. The fact is, DarkviperAU wants to see the concept of live streamed reactions, no matter how transformative, eliminated. Because, and I'm going to be honest, I think it's just, he finds it lazy. He's said it's lazy many times, but I think it's deeper than he just finds it lazy. I think he finds it lazy and is upset that people can make live content where they talk about things off the cuff, which he can do as well, based off of the talking point started by another person's content. Take that and make an entire video inspired off of the like the starting point of someone else's video. And is it lazier content? I'd say yes, in my view. For some people, they may find prepared content where they just have to like script, record, edit, and upload easier than having to live stream because they have social anxieties that make streaming harder, or they just have a schedule or health problems or whatever it may be that makes streaming at set times harder, and so they'd rather have like a more ContraPoints style schedule where they, you know, make prepared content when they can and they have like support through different means. That is, like, you know, maybe some people would find that easier than streaming, but I think most people would find streaming easier than, like, the prepared content that Dark Viper does on the side with his streaming stuff. And so from his perspective, he works his ass off, and there's no doubt about that. DarkviperAU works his ass off for the views and money that he gets. He streams a shitload, he edits his videos, he makes his own thumbnails, and he uploads his videos. And he uploads consistently, and he streams consistently, and he streams for a long fucking time, and the content's actually good. And I mean, you saw his editing timeline there in that screenshot. These are not like 10-minute, like, throw something into, like, Adobe Premiere Pro, cut out some like silent moments and then throw it up on YouTube type edits. There's like so many cuts that it's just slivers. Just like it looks like you're looking at the side of a big, thick, hardcover book, and every page is just those tiny little lines of grain. That is how his edits look on the timeline. So he clearly works his fucking ass off. So from his perspective, I think he's a bit jealous that there are people who are doing comparatively less work and getting any level of support. It's not that they're getting more or as much support as him, because they're not. In most cases. Obviously, you've got your XQCs and your Hassans, but those are very special cases. Chud Logic has, like, a minuscule amount of support compared to DarkviperAU. And despite that, he's going after Chud Logic and many of these other smaller content creators. The fact is, he doesn't believe that, for example, the type of content I make should be a viable way of making a living or creating a platform online. He thinks it should take more work. And if you haven't put in as much work, at least as much, maybe not as much work as him, but at least more work than I or most streamers have, then you don't deserve to have a platform and you don't deserve to make a living off of this content. And instead of just saying people don't deserve it, because a lot of people have things in life they don't deserve, that's just kind of how life works. Instead of saying that these streamers don't deserve their success, he's instead trying to create a narrative in which these streamers are committing a moral wrong by getting their success. Somehow their reaction videos are hurting people, so much so you need to be outraged about their existence. No matter how transformative, their laziness should outrage you. I think that is where his anger is truly coming from. My armchair psychotherapy segment of this section, or section of this segment, has ended. But yeah, I think that's basically it. He's sort of gatekeeping. It's basically YouTube success gatekeeping. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting. Now, granted, he hasn't outright said this. I'm not saying he's, like, admitted that this is why he's like this. So he's like Frank Grimes? Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. Chat, who knows who Frank Grimes from The Simpsons is? That is exactly what he is. He is pissed off that, like, the Homers are getting to quote-unquote skate by through life, and yet he's had to work so hard, and yet nothing ever goes his way. Holy shit, he's like he has Frank Grimes from The Simpsons syndrome. That's literally who he is. If you don't know who Frank Grimes is, just look up The Simpsons Frank Grimes and you'll quickly figure it out. One of the best episodes of old Simpsons.
No, I'm not going to be reacting to it on stream because unfortunately, well, let me put it this way.
I have no friends. I have no life. I have no girlfriend. I barely see my family.
I unfortunately do have a life, so I don't have time to, contend with this fucking autist filing endless DMCAs against my channel. So, yeah, but that doesn't matter. I've got lots of stuff to look at. The sort of like, what is it? The fallout from this is quite funny, so we can have a look at that at least.
I have no friends. I have no life.
Okay, the sound bites are getting annoying.
Rabid, it's insane. Never seen anything like it before.
Oh.
I think they're fucking copyright experts, right? Fucking gay little comment. Yeah, like, listen, bring it on as far as I'm concerned. Keep leaving your fucking gay little comments. I literally don't care. But, like, his fan base is fucking insane. Like, I've never seen anything like it before, where they are like little fucking automatons, like bots, who think they're fucking copyright experts, right? And they come to your fucking comment section and come to you on Twitter and they're fucking absolutely rabid. It's insane.
He definitely has a pretty substantial portion of his audience who are a lot like... They remind me a lot of Leafy's fan base. Do you remember how many of you guys were even on YouTube in 2015? And remember when, like, one day every comment section was filled with hiss? Who remembers that? Or Maximilianmus, when every comment section was filled with oh yeah yeah, from dudes with, like, the Maximilianmus profile picture. That guy ended up being a pedophile or something, I think, and ran off the internet, by the way. Maximilianmus. He, like, coerced a guy into, like, eating shit in his Discord or something on video chat. It was really fucked. Like, there are, like, content creators who create these weird cults of personalities where their fans go out on the patrol searching for anyone shit-talking their fave. Destiny's community does this quite consistently, and, like, I'm not even, like, saying this is wrong. I'm just saying it is a thing that happens. There are just YouTubers who have fan bases who do this, and I don't know how you make it happen. It probably has something to do with the amount of time you've done content, and thus having fans that are, like, very dedicated over that time. Like, you know, if you can find, like, 5 like 2 follower accounts on Twitter that have shit-talked Destiny that have 10 replies from Destiny fans calling them stupid, right? And, like, that doesn't happen on accident. That's because Destiny fans, they're out there looking. Another good example is Leafy. back in the day, Leafy sent his fans to go spam hiss in every comment section everywhere. Same with Maximilianmus and Oh Yeah Yeah. DarkviperAU is one of those YouTubers. His fans, he's covered one of my videos before in the past. And when that happened, my comment sections were filled with Merryweather Fleet's here, bro, for like 3 months. To be fair, they weren't rude. They didn't really say anything like horrible or mean. Of all the big YouTubers who have ever covered me in a negative way before, and I've had their fans come after me, possibly the most chill. Many of them ended up becoming fans of me because they liked my politics, even though they didn't like care for my takes on React content. And so that was nice. But overall, like, they just spammed this like meme from his community in the chat and in the comments, and it was like, okay, this is one of those YouTubers whose like fan base does this so consistently. They've got like a catchphrase they spam like unanimously when they raid another community's channel, right? So I that kind of gets across what I'm talking about here. He does have, I wouldn't say a rabid fan base, but definitely a fan base that if he talks about you, you're going to have a lot of notifications for a while. And they're all going to be saying the same thing.
Insane. Never seen anything like it before, right? Crazy.
I will say, DarkviperAU seems to have a real stick up his ass about the copyright rules on YouTube. I wonder if he feels the same way about YouTube's rules against organized harassment of other creators. Because I would say that your community having a literal, like, unanimous cultural catchphrase they all know to say when they raid other channels' comment sections, that seems like it's YouTube might not be a big fan of that. It just seems hypocritical is my point. Like, is he against, like, organized raiding of people's channels, which is a YouTube rule? Like, I don't know. He claims he has, to be fair, a moral disagreement with reaction content, not just disliking it because it's illegal, to be fair. So maybe he doesn't have any moral opposition to raiding people online.
Well, I was going to say, Tommy C, I'm coming around to your way of thinking, okay? And on top of that as well, I think that these fans are the kinds of people that would cheer on as the as a certain group get called in the 40s in a certain country to clear out certain types of people from the attic. Let's put it that way, okay? Let's put it that way. They would be cheering it on, I would say. So yeah, I mean,
Chud Logic is very cringe. I'm not denying that. Listen, this is not a case of Chud is a good guy. This is a case of Chud is being victimized in a way that is pretty important for us to talk about. Because if this becomes a standard that's just accepted because DarkviperAU gets away with it, that is a scary future for YouTube, where it's just the norm for people to sue other YouTubers that talk about them in a way they don't like, on the grounds of, you stole my content, it's copyright. And regardless of who's right or wrong, you still have to go through the legal process and go and spend that money, spend that time, go through that stress, because that is just how it works. You can't get out of that no matter how in the right and how good your lawyers are. Yep, it's what Illuminati is doing. Blair, yeah.
I mean, he has got like this absolutely autistic fervor over this point. And, you know, I'm pretty sure, because the thing is to bear in mind with this all happened months ago, okay? So him filing this DMCA takedown request happened months ago. It didn't go through. YouTube kicked it back because he didn't fill out the fucking form correctly, and YouTube didn't think it was legitimate. And after months of badgering, using a lawyer as well, he's managed to get the video taken down. But you could have made this video months ago. And I think, I got a feeling, obviously this is just a feeling, I've got no proof to point to for this, right? But what I feel has happened here is that he's waited until the videos come down to release this video, because then he can characterize it however he wants. He can characterize it literally however he wants, and then no one can actually go and check the original video to see what they think of it on a personal level, you know? We're going to watch Turkey Tom's video about it at the time, just to see what his take was on it back then.
Well, we're not going to watch to him reacting to another person's video, obviously, but I feel like that's pretty much the long and short of it. Essentially, DarkviperAU got a lawyer and had Chud Logic's fair use response to Dark Viper's video taken down, and because Chud Logic didn't want to defend it and deal with the legal shit, it got taken down. And now that it's down, Dark Viper has now made videos claiming that the video in question that he had taken down was something other than what it actually was. So he basically had the evidence that he is lying about the content of the video taken down using a lawyer, and is now lying about the content of that video. This is not a standard we want to set on this platform. I don't care who it's happening to. We need to call it out, because it's going to happen to somebody else who doesn't deserve it in the future, okay? And I don't care if Chud Logic's a bad dude and if you think he deserves it. There are definitely people who do not deserve it that this is going to happen to in the future if this is not unanimously demonized and fought against and talked down about. This should not be something that someone can get away with without having to make a serious apology. And yet, DarkviperAU is fine. Because the framing that a lot of people have is like the couple of people in chat who said Dark Viper's position on reaction content is based earlier. These are fans of me who watch my videos. I have a feeling they don't consider my content to be bad and worthy of being legally outlawed or taken down by YouTube. And yet when they heard, not Chud Logic, DarkviperAU's extreme, over the top, ridiculous take on all reaction content, they said based. Because a lot of people online who are not creators are generally inclined to hate reaction content when they hear that word, because when they hear that word, they think Sniper Wolf or Hassan just stealing someone's videos, or XQC just sitting there silently and eating as someone else's video plays. But what DarkviperAU means is everything live. If you like the concept of watching something live with someone else on YouTube and that's the content, say goodbye to that. That's what DarkviperAU wants banned. He doesn't believe live content can be transformative, fundamentally, principally. It's a very insane and dangerous thought process, I think. I don't like this idea of gatekeeping content success online. Dark Viper, if you see this, man, you've hit the top. You're over 1 million subs. You've got a golden play button. You're doing just fine for yourself. If people are genuinely stealing other people's content shamelessly and they're not putting in the effort to make it transformative and create their own commentary and create their own art, their own video from the inspiration of what they're reacting to, then go against it by all means. Jack's Films did this and nobody has an issue with it. You know who did have an issue with it, though, when Jack's Films went against it, though? Dark Viper. I wish I could bring up the tweet fast, but I don't want to take too long to do it. But DarkviperAU had this really upset tweet thread when the Jack's Films versus Sniper Wolf stuff happened, because he was upset that Jack's Films wasn't getting any of the pushback he got, because he fails to recognize that the vast majority of people make the distinction he doesn't between genuinely transformative high-effort response/reaction content and the low-effort reaction content that he characterizes all reaction content as being, thus giving the impression that's all he's against to many of the people who are on his side, besides, his most fervent followers.